Hey, everybody, it's Mr. Thompson. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy. And yes, that is me in my psychedelic blue shirt that my wife told me I'm never allowed to wear outside of the house. I'm going to post this video on Teddy Roosevelt, and then will also be a handout that's posted in a few minutes with a passage. I would recommend that you read the passage in addition to watching this video and listening in order to help answer the questions about Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was the 26th president of the United States. And for a while, he was the youngest president. He definitely was the wealthiest president at the time. He was one of the most popular presidents up until that time, even rivaling probably Andrew Jackson. He was also one of the most athletic presidents the country has ever seen, which is ironic given that he was pretty frail as a child and had asthma. But at some point in his teen years, he started an exercise regiment and ended up getting into boxing and eventually boxed at Harvard University. Roosevelt, like I said before, was active while he was president of the United States. I think I read somewhere there was an estimate that he had written 150,000 letters in 8 years. I want you to kind of imagine how many letters you've written in your lifetime. I can't even imagine that I've hit 1,000, and he wrote 150,000 just in his 8 years as president of the United States. He was also the author of some books. And we've talked before about Roosevelt. He lived in the Dakotas. He was also in the Spanish-American War and led a group of friends of his into Cuba up San Juan Hill, known as the Rough Riders. A couple things about Roosevelt. He did suffer some tragedy when his first wife and his mother died on the same day in the same house. A couple years later, he was made vice president of the United States. They were hoping to kill his political career. It didn't work. It kind of backfired on him, on the Republicans, because we talked last week before the coronavirus hit that McKinley had been assassinated, if you remember, by Leon Zogos, the anarchist, and that put Roosevelt in position to be president of the United States. The guy who had recommended that McKinley pick him for vice president was Mark Hanna, was quoted as saying, "Look, that damned cowboy is president of the United States." Roosevelt offered the country what he called the square deal. He became known as the trust buster. He liked to break up monopolies. And then last semester, we talked as a group in our class that Roosevelt had won the Nobel Peace Prize because he had mediated the end to the Russo-Japanese War. Like I said before, Roosevelt was president for 8 years. He handpicked William Taft to become his successor. And then later on, because he's upset with the way Taft will run things, he'll actually come back and try to run for a third term. And that's when he creates the Bull Moose Party. Let's see. Roosevelt did go on a safari after he was president of the United States with his son Kermit. And while they were in Africa, it's an amazing statistic, killed more than 500 animals, including 17 lions and rhinos and elephants. Something that nothing like that would ever be allowed to happen today at that level. When he was president, a couple things did occur. Roosevelt, Admiral Peary, became the first person to reach the North Pole in a ship named after Roosevelt. The Wright brothers successfully flew at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and Roosevelt actually paid them $25,000 for the rights to the plane, no pun intended there. So the U.S. Air Force began. John D. Rockefeller, during Roosevelt's presidency, amassed a fortune worth $300 million, which would make him the richest man in world history. And the Great Train Robbery became the first moving picture to tell a story. All right, so that's all the notes I have on Roosevelt. What I would recommend after you listen to this, go in. There's going to be a passage also that you need to read. And then I am going to upload some questions related to both. And once you do those, then you should be good to go with Teddy Roosevelt. When we come back next on Monday, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to Taft and then Wilson after that. I'm also going to start sprinkling in some notes and some information about the New Deal, since that's where we were on the chapters. Don't forget, everybody stay healthy. Don't forget to use some social distancing. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it probably will impact things later on if everybody can comply or abide with some of those rules. And don't be afraid to email me. Don't be afraid to message me if you need anything. Good luck with everything, and we will see you on Monday or on Tuesday if you're a Tuesday, Thursday class.